Good evening everyone, I hope you're all well and welcome to the next lesson. So week 17 of the Guitar Quest lessons. So we started, 2 weeks ago we started Guitar Quest 2. There was a little hiccup with exercise 2 and I emailed out the revised version which had the extra line that was missing now reinstated. So hopefully you received that and downloaded it and it's all okay. But if you haven't seen that email, it did go out a couple of days after we had the last lesson, and maybe the last week off, so it's best part of 2 weeks ago now, so just double check your emails. Let me know if you haven't received it for any reason. So yeah, today we will just be continuing on really, so we'll recap a couple of bits, just sort of reviewing the notes mainly that we covered from Guitar Quest 1. And then we also started exercise, well we did exercise 1, we did a little bit of exercise 2, we'll go back over that in more detail and then just push onwards really in the same manner that we have done previously. So, before we get started then, just the usual kind of things, so if whatever device you're on, if you've got emails or social media or anything like that open, please close it. Give ourselves that half an hour of sort of uninterrupted guitar time, which is always good. What else we got? If there's any children watching, always best to have an adult in the room, so that they can help explain things as I'm talking through. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it really. So let's kick off with tuning. So as usual, I'll just play the notes and then just try and make sure you're roughly sounding the same pitch as these and adjust the pegs accordingly. I've got the other video about how to tune the guitar, just in case you're watching this for the first time or something like that, so feel free to go back and watch that. Anyway, here is the bottom E. So try and make sure that your 6th string is the same pitch as this one. Okay, and then A. G, and then on to B, and then finally our top E. So, as I say, hopefully you're all in tune. It's always best to tune your guitar, particularly before the lesson. So whenever I'm teaching privately, I'll always tune up first. Sometimes I'll ask people, when did you, or have you tuned your guitar? And it might be, yeah, I did a couple of days ago. And that's cool, that's great, we want to do that. However, once you get more used to it, you'll probably tune up every time you go to play, just to kind of make sure you're in tune really. If you're not in tune, it's never going to sound any good. So yeah, that's the importance of it. So the next thing then, just before we get started, just to double check posture. So whichever posture, we've talked about this a few times before, whichever one you're going for, just make sure you're set up properly. Remember as well, the one thing we don't really want is the guitar neck to point downwards, because it means you've got to kind of bring your shoulder around and all sorts of stuff. So try and always have it, like sort of horizontal like that is okay, but sort of pointing up is best. And so if you watch videos of guitarists playing, you'll see, whatever style it is, the neck is usually pointing up in some sort of manner like that, whether that's a rock guitarist or a classical guitarist or whoever. But if they're sitting down, it'll be something kind of like this. So obviously the angle is not quite as pronounced, I suppose, but it's enough so that we can get round and hit all these notes that we want to. So let's move on. So the first thing we're going to do then is recap the notes from Guitar Quest 1. So we talked about this at the last lesson. So if you turn to page 2 of Guitar Quest 2, at the top of the page we have all the notes from Guitar Quest 1. So we're just going to play through that forwards and backwards. If you feel confident, say the note names out loud. You can even shut the book if you're feeling really confident. And I'm just going to move that. And yeah, good luck. Just use it as a bit of a warm-up. So here we go, starting on G after 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's G, and A, and B, and C, D, E, and F, and finally up to G. I'm going to come back again, so we repeat that note, and then F, open E, and D, and C, B, and A, and then finally G. Okay, good stuff. So that was a bit of a warm-up. Then what we had were the new notes that we talked about last time. So we were covering E, A, and D. So these are the lowest 3 strings. So remember, these would be described as although they're at the top of the guitar, they are described as the lower strings or the bassy strings, that kind of thing, because it's all done in terms of pitch. So yeah, try not to get confused. People do, even after a long time, you know, say play your first string E and they might play that one, but actually what we mean is that one. So this would be our 6th string, this is our 5th string, and then 4th. So they're the ones we want to be focusing on. So I'm just going to bring up the music just so you can see. So these are the notes down here. So where we have these 3 extra ledger lines, the ledger lines being these little extra lines below the stave, and where that note hangs off the bottom of those, that's our bottom E, so that's our 6th string. Then the A has 2 ledger lines, and that's our 5th string, and then D finally is the one that's just hanging off the bottom of the stave, and that's string 4. So let me close that down. What we're going to do is have a go at exercise 1. So when you're looking at exercise 1, if you look at the first 4 bars, it's all just the note A. So we play along with that, just hitting that 5th string. So that's our A there. Then as we come on to bars 5 and 6, we move to D. Then we come back to A for bars 7 and 8. And then the last line, this is where it gets a little bit more tricky. We've got bottom E in the first bar, or bar 9 there, and then we come over to D for 4. Then we've got A, and then finally E. And then you would repeat and finally go back, play through the whole thing again, and then finish off with that A to just round things off there. So, okay, let's give it a go. So we'll include the repeats. This is all good practice. So after 4, from the beginning, this is Smokehouse Blues. Okay, and good luck, everyone. So here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was good. Hope that all went well. Obviously, if you've got any questions, fire away, just drop them in the chat as usual. Give yourselves a pat on the back if it went well. You know, we should celebrate all these things that go well anyway. So, right, we are going to move on to exercise 2 in just a minute. But because we couldn't go through all of it last time, what I was thinking we might start with is just to skip forward a little bit and go on to the chord A, which we spoke about last time. Just make sure this is okay, and then effectively exercise 2 is more of a new thing, so we'll get onto that in a second. So, the chords we learned in Guitar Quest 1, we had E minor to begin with, then I think we did a E major, and then we move all those fingers across, and we get to A minor. So remembering our minor chords sound sad, and our major chords sound happy. So E minor, E major, sounds a bit sadder, a bit happier for the E major. So we've learned A minor. So the new chord we talked about the other week was A major. So that's these 3 in a column at the 2nd fret. So hopefully you can see that there. So you may want to stack your fingers a little bit. So rather than all being side by side, because you might find it's difficult to get fingers into the frets. You might find this one in particular starts creeping towards the 1st fret, which we don't want. So what I find I tend to do is my middle finger sort of, rather than being next to it almost, or diagonally up from it, tends to sort of creep over the top a little bit, you know, and that's fine because we want to get these fingers in as much of a kind of straight column as we can. So we do that. You know, if you find that difficult, particularly any adults who are watching this, you know, if you've got quite big hands, big fingers and things, then you might find that it's a bit of a struggle, but you, like, with perseverance you will get there. It's one of those things that it can be a little frustrating at times, but you just persevere, you'll be fine. So the other way you can play it, which I don't necessarily, well in fact I never recommend it, but I have seen people do it this way, and that's to switch fingers 1 and 2 around, so those go like that. It seems to be a newer way of approaching the A chords from what I can tell, so this is sometimes referred to as the traditional one, so the first one we spoke about, and then the more modern way of playing it. If you really are struggling with that one, the traditional one, you could perhaps try that. If you do, just watch out to make sure this 1st finger doesn't creep towards the 1st fret. As you can hear, if you do hit that 1st fret, it changes the chord a little bit, and we're not looking to do that at the moment. So, see if you can get that. We're going to strum from strings 5 through to string 1. And hopefully it should all be nice and clear. The ones to watch out for, I guess, would be that 1st string, so make sure that this 3rd finger isn't kind of angling down. So if you get this kind of sound, then see if you can just get these fingers up on the fingertips a little bit more. I don't know if you can see that there or not, but rather than being like that, I want to be more like that. And then hopefully you get that nice clear sound. And a good aspect, you know, a good thing to practice would be just changing from A major to A minor. Can you hear that difference? So you've got the happy major chord and then the minor chord, which is a bit sadder sounding. I think I mentioned the other week, like you're not likely, I mean it can happen, but it's fairly rare that you'd go from A major to A minor. So it's not necessarily going to be the most useful chord change you're ever going to learn. However, just being able to change between one chord to whatever happens to come next is kind of what we're aiming for. And we'll put these into the context of chord progressions that are more likely to occur, you know, as we progress through. So for now, just try and change between them and see if you can get the notes nice and clear. And then if you're feeling confident with that, try chucking in a E major or minor into E major, A major, E minor, A minor, both quite common changes. So we've done A minor before, so we don't really need to focus on that one too much. So we'll keep our focus on the A major. So, good luck with that. Let me know if you've got any issues you're having with it, but hopefully it should be okay. So let's turn back a page and we're going to look at exercise 2, the funky den. So this is on page 3. So as I mentioned before, if you downloaded the revised book which I sent out, then you should now have this full exercise. So we'll talk about it in a little more detail now. So we have, I think we had this in the first book, if I remember rightly. So we've got notes with the stems pointing downwards. We're going to use our thumb for those. And then we've got notes with the stems pointing upwards. We're going to use the fingers. So in bar 1, we start off with the A on the 5th string, and we're going to use our thumb. And then the second note is A, 3rd string, 2nd fret. So it's an octave up. That's the distance between the two notes. So we play that, and then we're going to use our index finger to play the A. Then we've got 2 low A's, and then we're going to play the A on the 3rd string again. And if you can, try and alternate your index and middle fingers for those higher notes. It's not necessarily that crucial because you've got plenty of time. You know, between those notes, you've got plenty of time to get that index finger back into position to be able to use it again if you needed to. However, the more we can alternate these fingers, the better. You know, we're just building that technique. So bars 1, 2, and 3 are all the same. So you've got A, A. So I appreciate when I say it like that, it doesn't really probably help. So it's low A. We're going to call this middle A because we're going to have a higher A later as well. So we've got low A, middle A, low A a couple of times, and then the middle A again. And that's the same for the first 3 bars. Bar 4 is much the same. Starts off the same anyway. But we're going to lift off and finish on G there. So, as I mentioned before, you know, if you feel you need to jot any of these notes down to help, you know, be able to play it smoother, then do go for it. I would just say try not to write every note down because, you know, we want to get used to reading the music as well as playing it. So, if you write every note down, you'll probably end up reading what you've written as opposed to what's on the stave. So, anyway, that's bar 4. Then as we come on to bar 5, it's pretty similar to the first bar. It's just we're changing our bass note to the D. So we've got the D there, and then A again. And then so bar 6. So it starts off the same, and then we're just going to try and hit that C at the end of the bar. And then bar 7 is the same as the beginning. Like we have in bar 4. Then at the end of the 3rd line, we're going to switch our bass note to bottom E, and then we're going to play a D, 2nd string, 3rd fret. So we've got that 1 bar. Then as we come on to bar 10, we're going to change back to our bass note on the D, on the 4th string D, and then we're going to play a C, and then bar 11, same as the beginning. And then the final, or bar 12 there, we've got the bottom E, then D, and then a top E there. And then you would repeat and then play that final note. So, what I'm going to do is just play through it once, just on my own, and if you want to try playing along, please do so. But what I'd encourage you to do is to listen to it first and just try and get a feel for what's going on, and then we'll try playing it together in just a minute. So this first time, I'm not going to do the repeat, we're just going to work our way through, so I'll just play bars 1 to 13, ignoring the repeat. Okay, so here we go. So 3, 4. So I would say that this is definitely a little bit more difficult than exercise 1. Probably a little bit more difficult than anything we've attempted so far, I would say. But you know, any comments from you guys would be much appreciated. So let me know whether you think that, or perhaps there's something in Guitar Quest 1 that you found was more difficult than this. But let's give it a go together. So we are going to do the repeat this time. So I'll count us in just up to 4. I think the recording, like the backing track, is faster than this. So we'll have a listen to that in just a minute as well. So in terms of practice, if you find the backing track too fast, then come back to this bit that we're about to play now and play along with it, and hopefully that will help you just get all the notes and timing and everything down. So okay, so let's take it away after 4. So 3, 4. Back to the beginning. Okay, good. So if you managed to play along with that, and very, very well done, because I think that is a little bit more difficult, as I mentioned. But let's have a listen to the track. I'll do the usual mouse pointing cursor thing as we go. So if I just move that into place. Okay, so I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. Okay, cool. So that is exercise 2. One thing I should also mention is you may want to consider playing that free stroke. So I played that rest stroke in the demonstration. Listen to the recording. I think that was free stroke. So remembering, just as a recap, when we play, so watch my right hand here, when we play rest stroke, our fingers end up resting on the next string, hence the name. If you're playing free stroke, you just try and lift the fingers up and away a little bit, try to ping away like that kind of thing. We want it to be just kind of a nice subtle movement, really. And if you do that, like particularly, for example, on bar 5, where we've got the D and the A, so if you play D there, we don't necessarily want to do the rest stroke and cut the sound off. So if we play a free stroke, it will, I think I played an A at the end there rather than a C, apologies, but I think you get the idea. So it just means the notes ring into each other and don't get cut off, and it hopefully then obviously just sounds a bit nicer. So good luck with that one. It's, as I mentioned, possibly a bit of a tricky one, but any feedback you can give would be much appreciated. So let's turn the page and move on. So on page 4, you'll notice, so that's 2/3, 3/4 of the way down the page, there's that empty table there, with the strings and frets. So that's there for you to fill in. I would suggest you do so just to kind of, you know, how well are you absorbing this information. So those E, A and D are the new notes we've learned. So what strings are they? And and then write down what fret they are. And if you think it's an open string, as in no fret, then you put a 0. But what we're going to do is move on, and we've got this new note E. So this is at the bottom of page 4 here. So this is, if I just bring the music up again, this note down here. So where that note goes through the bottom line there, that is the note E. So if you remember back to our mnemonic thing that we had over here, for the line notes, every good boy deserves fruit, that is the E for every. So I can't remember if we spoke about these much or not, but anyway, this is just ways to help remember the note names. So if you are struggling with reading the notes, if you look at the stave and identify, well, does the note go through the line or does it go in between the lines? So if it goes through the line, we can use this mnemonic, every good boy deserves fruit, so E, G, B, D, F, so every good boy deserves fruit. So you can just kind of work it out. So if you were looking at this note and you weren't sure, you could go, okay, well, it's or put the cursor here, so every good boy deserves. So you go for the D there. So yeah, so that's the idea anyway, and so this is the note E, this is what we're about to learn. So as I said, it's the 4th string, 2nd fret. So let me just turn that off. So we're going to push down on the 4th string, the D string at the 2nd fret. So quite like the A that we played on the 3rd string, but we're just now on the 4th string. And you should hear that note. And we're going to use our middle finger because we're at the 2nd fret. So remember our sort of overriding principle, if you like, is 1 finger per fret. So any notes at the 1st fret will be 1st finger, any notes at the 2nd fret is going to be the 2nd finger. So that's our E. So just have a play of that. Make sure it's sounding okay. If you can, try and make sure you don't allow your finger to kind of, I'm trying to adjust so you can see it, but try not to allow that finger to slouch down. It needs to be nice and up on the fingertips so that if the next note of whatever tune you're playing happens to be a G, for example, then it's not interfering with that and getting in the way. So that's the note E. So what we're going to do is have a go at exercise 3 just to finish off with. So in this particular exercise we've got the note A, which is our 5th string, and we've got D, the 4th string, and then we've got E, which is our new note. So other than that, there's nothing in there. Hopefully it's going to cause you too many issues. What I would say is on the first line and the last line there's a lot of rests. So when you're playing it, just try and put your thumb, because we're going to use our right hand thumb, I should say, to play all these notes. So pop your thumb back on the string, just where the rests are, just to kind of make sure you cut the sound off. You might still hear other sort of sounds coming from the guitar, and that's fine, you know, that does happen. So, okay, so in theory, with this tune, we play the first line twice, the second line twice, and then the third line we play. I have to just double check. I have a feeling there should be a repeat mark at the end of, or at the start of the third line, so apologies about that if I've missed that. We'll have a listen to the track in a minute. Yeah. In fact, let's put the track on now, and then we can listen. We can identify it. So this is number 3. So let me just bring that up. And yeah, hope you enjoy it, and we'll talk about it in just a second. So here we go. Okay, so yeah, the third line should have a repeat mark at the beginning. So if you could just scribble that into your books, that would be much appreciated. So it just mimics what's on the second line. So after the treble clef, you'd have the thick line, the thin line, and the double dots. And that would tell us to repeat that bit. So we're going to play the first line twice, the second line twice, and then the third line we play twice, except notice we've got the first and second time bars at the end. So we play, the first time we play the third line, we do bar 1, or the first time bar, and then we go back and play that third line again. We do the first 3 bars and then skip over. So I realise I'm pointing at the wrong thing there. So if I just, apologies, we're just overrunning a little bit here now. So we do this line twice. Notice this one, because we've got the repeat mark here, we don't need it at the start because we're going back to the beginning. You sometimes do see that written in there, but you don't necessarily need it there. On the second one, we don't want to go back to the beginning, we want to just go to back to the start of the second line, so hence having those marks in there. And then the third line, so this is where we need to write in the thick line, thin line and double dots to remind us that we need to repeat that bit. As again, apologies for missing that, not quite sure how that happened, but obviously it has. So when we get to the third line, we play all the way through here. We do the first time bar, and then we come back to the beginning, play it again, do those first 3 bars, and then jump over and play the second time bar. So, to finish off with then, let's play it through together. So we've got our new note E, 4th string, 2nd fret, and yeah, good luck with it really. So here we go after 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So A, rest, A, rest, D, rest, D, rest, E, rest, E, rest, E, rest. That's beginning, rest. Second line, 2, 4, 2, 3, 4, and E, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and back to the beginning of that second line. Go on to the third line, back to the A with the rest. D, D, and then E again. E, and the first time bar, so the E's. Back to the beginning of the third line. D, D, and E, and the second time bar, and we finish on the A. Okay, so that is a good place for us to finish up. Apologies, we've overrun a little bit there. But hopefully you found that useful. If you've got any comments or anything, please do leave them in the chat. So to recap the stuff we want to be working on, what I would suggest we use as a warm-up is exercise 1. So we've got a little bit of practice on those new sort of low string notes. And then the main exercises to be working on will be exercises 2 and 3. And I think that's pretty much it. So remember, in terms of practice, we want to be practicing 4 or 5 times a week. The more you do, the better you get. It's a pretty simple equation, really. So lots of short bursts of practice, like 4 or 5 times 15 minutes a week is better than once for an hour. So that's another thing to bear in mind. But yeah, basically good luck with it all. I'll send the link round for the live stream lesson for next week. So keep an eye out for that one. If you enjoyed the video, please, or today's lesson rather, please give it a thumbs up. And I will look forward to seeing you all next week. Okay, so good luck with the practice, and I'll see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.